Welcome to Nikki Pours Art. So today I'm going to be running through a beginner's guide to paint pouring acrylic paint. And so we're going to be working with acrylic paint, silicone, flow trail, and we're basically going to be pouring it onto a canvas. I'm just going to run you guys through basically how I do it from start to finish. So the first thing that we would do is we'd get our canvas print, which is in this plastic film. So this is a 16" by 16", which is 40.64 centimeters by 40.64, and it's just a stretched canvas print from a craft shop, so it's nothing overly fancy. I always have a plastic bag handy when I'm painting as well, because I find you always end up having little things that you just want to chuck in the bin, and often they have paint on them. So when you get a canvas print, sometimes you will get these little wooden like things. I don't even know what they're called. They look like that, and so what they actually do is actually stretch the canvas. So you can see on the back here there's like little holes. So what you can do is you can pop your little bits of wood into the canvas, and that actually helps to stretch the canvas. So when you're doing pour paint, it's actually quite heavy, so you don't want to get like a dip in the canvas. You don't want your canvas to kind of like dip from the weight of the paint. So it is a good idea to put these in. So basically they just slot in the holes. You do get 8. You get 8 of them. I normally only put in 4. So you just go around, pop your little bits of wood in, and then you can give them a little tap. So you generally have to stand it up for this. Give it a little tap. To make sure that's in nice and tight. And you'll just notice that your canvas is then just that little bit tighter. So when you're doing pour painting, obviously because a lot of the paint drips over the edge, you don't want to get it kind of all down the sides and all like clumping around here. So if you just get a little set of pins just from like a pin-up board, and they sit about a centimetre high, and then just bang them into your painting. So then you'll find that your piece will sit above the table, and then whatever paint drips over the edge, then you can easily pick your painting up and move it to the spot that you want it to go when you want it to dry. So that's basically prepping your piece of canvas ready for pour painting. So then what I normally do is I will normally put down a piece of tarp. You can always use cardboard as well. I've found that the tarp is the best thing to use. I also like to put down a little bit of newspaper as well. So I'll just move these over here. I just wanted to kind of try and show you as much as I could from start to finish, but I also want it to be a quick video as well. So I put a piece of newspaper or whatever down that my paints go on, just so then once I've finished that piece, I can then just wrap that piece of paper up and chuck it straight in the bin, and I have less paint on my tarp. So this piece that I'm doing today is what I am aiming for is I'm aiming for something that looks like cut amethyst. So I'm going to be doing purples, I'm going to be doing some earthy tones, I'm going to be doing a tiny bit of like a yellowy colour. So what I have is I have put my paints into these little plastic containers. So you get your little plastic containers, choose the colours that you want to choose, pop your acrylic paint into your little plastic containers with a, this is actually like from a popsicle that I kind of just saved and washed. So, and then I think you can just buy them from like craft stores and stuff like that. So I've got all my paints in here, just basically any acrylic paint. You can buy artist quality if you want to, or you can just buy craft shop quality, just as long as it's acrylic. And then in order to get the cells that everyone sort of talks about with the separation of the paint, and what you need to do is, because this is water-based, you've got to add something that is silicone. So this is 100% silicone. It's called WD-40. It's a silicone lubricant that I got from the hardware store, but I think there's lots of different sorts of silicones that you can get. So basically you just spray like a tiny bit into each cup. I don't like to use too much because I don't like too many cells. So next, what I add to my paint is I add a Floetrol. So I think you can get a few different brands. This brand is Flood from the hardware store. This is in a 4 litre tub and it's about $57. So this is, it's conditioning, it's not thinner, and it doesn't change the, doesn't dilute the colour. So whatever colour you see here, it shouldn't dilute it, basically. So then you just pour, it's, I'm sure that some people measure, but I tend to just kind of guess, wing it. So you just pour in your Floetrol. So I'm going to pour it into all of them. Pour in your Floetrol, and then you give it a good mix around, and then you kind of just look at the consistency and just sort of try and make sure that all of the consistencies are similar. So not too runny, not too thick, just as long as they're all kind of the same consistency. If you've got one colour that is thicker than another colour, then that colour is going to sit underneath, it's going to sink to the bottom, so it'll sit underneath the other paints, and it just will kind of alter the way that your painting falls, which there's nothing wrong with that. Like sometimes that can create a good effect, but yeah, I just try and get them to be all the same consistency. So this is actually a yellow, it was a really, really bright yellow, and I wanted it to dull it down, so I have added a tiny bit of black to it. So that's what I've done. So you give it a stir, like a really good stir, try and get all the sides and the bottom, and then just kind of, see that's still pretty gluggy. So what I'll need to do with that is I probably need to add a little bit more Floetrol. See what happens there. That is a little bit better consistency. I have got another. Now it's going to come out really fast because it's a new bottle. So you just kind of keep adding until you get the consistency that you want. If you add too much, then you are going to have to put in more paint. And so then what can sometimes happen is you end up having a lot of leftovers. And Floetrol's not overly cheap, so you really don't want to waste it. So give this one a stir. Actually, I don't even know what colour that was. That's a pearly white. This is a pearly white. So because I want this to look like a piece of cut amethyst, I thought pearly white would be a really good colour to do. And that one's still a bit groggy too. I think I've been a little bit stingy with the Floetrol. So give it a good stir. I actually spend a lot of time stirring. The paint pouring is actually one of the quickest parts. So this is a silver, and this has also got a sparkle to it. I don't know if you guys can see that. So I really liked that colour. Again, just hold it up and check the consistency. Might add a tiny bit more. This is a really pale grey, I think. Yeah, this is a really pale grey, which again, because I'm trying to go for that cut gemstone look, I am going to be adding quite a few different colours and tones. That's quite nice, that colour. I actually really like that. And then this is our purple for our amethyst. So I use a few different brands of acrylic paint. I basically buy them based on the colour that I like. I have got some artist quality acrylic paint, and I've also got some craft store, and I have found them both to be great. This piece is a mixture of artist quality and craft store acrylic paint, and I can't really tell the difference in them. Okay, so we've stirred all of our paint. Then we just go through and check the consistency. That's nice and runny. Have a look at this one. Yes. I haven't actually, where is that one? Haven't actually used these colours before, so this is going to be a new thing for me. So now, before we start painting, what we want to do is we want to put our gloves on. Sometimes I get really excited and I just go for it without gloves, but it does take a long time to get the paint out of your nails. So I definitely recommend gloves. So the gloves that I use are just some latex-free, disposable. These are the ones that I like, so I use these ones. I also always have a box of tissues handy as well next to me. It just seems easier when you start to get like lots of paint on your hands. You can just wipe it off with the tissues. And I have baby wipes next to me as well. I also have a pre-made tub of white because you use a lot of white. So I did a tub before. So this is my white, and I use a spatula to spread my white around. Okay, so to begin with, I like to just coat my piece of artwork with my canvas with some white. So just pour some white on. And then we'll leave our white here. So I have this little dish to put my sticks in. So I either just spread it on with my hands, or you can use your spatula or whatever, really. This is just kind of, the reason why I like to do this is because then if you do have any white voids, then your canvas is not completely bare. So in areas where you have a void of white, sometimes your canvas can then be bare, which I don't particularly like. So this is the way that I am going to do this piece. I don't do every piece like this. And I like to just get the sides to make sure all the sides have got paint on them. So So this is where I would then get my tissues and just wipe that off. Otherwise you're going to get paint all over your cups and everything. And then I always have a plastic bag handy as well just to chuck my stuff in. So I'm going to do this purple. I'm going to add a tiny bit of white to it, just to give it I'm going to add a little bit of this perlite, and I'm going to add a tiny bit of silver. Okay. Take our paintbrush out. We're going to start pouring. So I'm just going to pour my whole cup. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some white. Now I'm going to try and do a little bit more purple. Actually, I might try this little bit of I don't know what this colour is going to turn out like. I'm scared. And then we'll do some of this grey. This is pale grey. And then I'm going to do a little bit of silver. And I'll do some more white. Now in here I have got some brown, so I want to just put a teeny bit of brown on. This is my pearly white. This is like a creamy colour. This is my pale grey again, and I think I might just do a tiny bit more brown. And just one more ring of yellow. Okay, and then in our corners we'll just put a tiny bit of white. Now's the fun part. So now's the part where we get to pour, get to slosh. Now you get to really see what your piece is kind of going to look like. So a lot of it will go over the edge. What you can do as well for your corners is you can just pinch them like that in order to make sure the corners are covered. I'm going to tip back to this side. So what you can see is a lot of what you put around the edge is going to go. It is going to go over the edge, and that's it, it'll be gone. So there we go, we get our corners again. Okay, I think we might come back. Can you guys see? Might come back this way. I'm going to go for this corner here. As you can see, we're losing a lot of our brown, because our brown was one of the things that was on the edge. So if you want to, you can make sure that all your edges are covered. You can just help it along a little bit like this. It's very forgiving in these early stages. So I'm just going to twist it around so I can show you guys. So I'm just going to pull it back this way because I don't want... Okay. The other thing you can do is, if you haven't been able to get all of the sides, so what I often do is I either pick up stuff that's on here and I just kind of add it to the side like that. And the other thing that you can do is you can just pour a little bit over the edge from here and just go like that if you want to get it. Now I feel like this is a little bit too yellow as to what I wanted, so I'm going to just add a tiny bit of the grey to that. Yellow. And then basically you just keep on manipulating your piece until you're happy with the way that it looks. So like if you want more of one side, then you just tip it. And then just go around and check that all of your sides are covered. and if they're not, just pick up some paint from the side. You don't have to cover all of your sides as well. If you want to leave some voids, then you can as well. Okay, so all of my sides are all covered. I might just pull that back a bit. This is falling. So you do have a point of manipulation, and then that will be all. There will be no more opportunity to manipulate the painting. So we're still in manipulation phase. Okay, now my hands are very painty. I'm just going to wipe them clean with my tissues. Then I'm going to get my heat gun out, and I'm just going to do a little bit. So the heat gun is what produces all of those little cells in your painting. So sometimes I don't heat gun, sometimes I do heat gun, and so that's just what gives that different texture. So yeah, that's it. And basically a painting like this would probably take around 24 to 48 hours to dry, and you do have to be really careful. Particularly, one of the things I find that's a real nuisance is bugs. So sometimes I will come out to check my painting, and there'll be a tiny little bug in it. In that case, then you'll need to get something like tweezers and just tweeze your bug off the painting, and hope that it doesn't cause a dent in your painting. The other thing that I struggle with as well is little kids' fingers, because my kids will come out and go, "Ooh, what a pretty painting, is it dry yet?" and they'll poke their finger into it. So that's the other thing that I have during the drying phase. So you just hope that your painting will just dry with no bugs or no kids' little fingers getting into it. So thanks guys for watching, and if you've got any questions, leave them in the comments, and check out some of my other videos that I will be putting up shortly. Thanks for watching Nikki Paws Art.